Last Friday morning, the Culture War podcast hosted Lauren Chen and Pearl Davis, and the debate was fantastic. I thought it was rather fantastic, actually. We also had Isabella Moody and Rachel Wilson, and there was a great conversation, but there were some heated moments between Lauren Chen and Pearl Davis, and these have continued on X with some big cultural questions for conservatives that I think deserve exploration. And while I certainly opined quite a bit on that Culture War episode, as I do, there's a lot of conversations that I just mostly stayed out of. Let them have their debate and only asked a few questions where I thought clarification was necessary. Now, Pearl Davis has ignited a debate over conservative women telling other men how to live their lives, how to lead their households. In one tweet, she says, "Why do so many conservative women think it's their place to tell their husband when he is and is not following God? Blows my mind. Conservative women are so out of order." And this expands upon the other idea that Pearl has been tweeting about, where she says that many of these conservative women are feminists telling other men in other households how to lead their families. There's a lot to break down here, and there's actually a very personal component to this, where Pearl is calling women ugly and old, and women are calling her refrigerator body, and oh man, you gotta love the internet. But I do think, considering this is a big cultural issue right now pertaining to the fertility rate, the whether or not people are at replacement levels, meaning if you are a couple, you have two kids, and without getting too much into personal details, fully acknowledging that I am 38, unmarried, have no kids. I am currently in a relationship, working on family stuff, and that's none of your business. But I do think it's really funny how internet drama begins to erupt over these issues. Considering the importance of this, quite literally the survival of humanity, I think we should actually dive into this. Now, the one thing I do need to tell everybody, for our more inexperienced audience members, I mean this with no disrespect, there are a lot of people that are commenting that tend to comment on when I'm talking to a guest. This really blows my mind, the media literacy of this era. So, for instance, Pearl Davis says something like, homes without fathers tend to be worse than homes without mothers. And then I will respond with, do you actually think X, Y, and Z, or is it Y? The purpose of a question when I follow up with someone like Pearl is not to not understand. For those that are not familiar with shows like this, it's because many people watching may need a little bit more information to truly understand the point. Follow-up questions, and you'll actually hear me say to Pearl, like, hey, what about X, Y, and Z? And then she'll say A, B, and C, and I'll go, I actually agree. Okay, just wondering. People don't seem to understand that questions are not designed, are not because I don't understand. It's because I'm trying to help an audience understand who Pearl is. I've seen her stuff. I know a lot about her. But let's talk about this issue right now, because I think this one is really important. And then, oh boy, I hope you're ready for some E-drama, cat fight, girl bickering, or whatever you want to call it. And I do have some personal opinions about Pearl. She's very smart, but I do think, and I'm gonna say this right away, and a lot of people have expressed this, she seems hurt. I don't mean this as an emotional dig. I think Pearl Davis is jaded. I think that she's got a chip on her shoulder of sorts. And when you say something like that about someone, they usually take it as an insult. It's a dig at somebody. I don't know how else to say it. I think Pearl Davis's opinions are partially informed by a bias against women that may be rooted in jealousy. I mean that sincerely. I think Pearl Davis is very smart. I think she's right about a lot of the things she's bringing up. I think she's wrong about a lot. She said something like women's jobs tend to be useless. And I called that hyperbolic. Come on, that's not literally true. And, she goes on to mention a bunch of jobs that women tend to work. And I'm like, these are social jobs. I mean, nursing tends to be dominated by women. And nursing is arguably as or more important than the doctors themselves. I'll tell you why. Now, a lot of people are going to come out and be like, are you kidding? The doctors are the ones who know and do the nurses are the ones who perform the majority of the procedures in taking care of the average patient. Doctors prescribe, also extremely important. My point is only, when you go to the hospital and you're getting a medicine administered, or you're getting an IV, you're getting taken care of, the nurses are doing the work. It is predominantly female. And so I think that's tremendously important. Now, I don't like institutionalized learning facilities, so you're not going to see me defend teachers. Sorry, have a nice day. But I do think some of these things are informed by a bias. Pearl Davis says she thought that lawsuits were initiated more by women. And I said, actually, I think I got you on this one. You're going to agree. And she did. I said that this is on Timcast IRL after the show, actually. I think it was on IRL. Men work riskier jobs and are more likely to get hurt and thus more likely to initiate lawsuits. And she then said, yes, you're right. Because I do think she is smart. I do think she understands the data and the facts. But let's talk about where we're at currently. This is ridiculous Twitter threads. So Pearl Davis tweets, conservative women are feminists. Here's what she says. The Lauren Chen admits here she thinks she should be able to tell another man how to talk to his wife in his home. That is out of order. Traditional women use religion to control men. Lauren Chen responded, it is not a feminist stance to believe husbands and fathers should act in a Christian manner toward their families. What a ridiculous notion, but sadly predictable when you remove God and responsibility from your worldview. This is an extremely important take. I agree with Lauren Chen more than you could probably agree. This is extremely important. The idea that there would be no social pressure from outside groups on other families is how you get the degeneracy we begin to see emerge today. Quite literally, women and men in the community should be telling other people in their community how to live. Yep. Doesn't mean you have to listen, but it means the social pressure should exist. This means if there is a man who is not going to church, who is not part of your community, and you're a Christian, you should be saying, asking the question, is something wrong? Can we do something to get you to attend church? If there is another person who seems to be deviating, excuse me, you do intervene in some social capacity. Wives talk to each other. It's what they do. The idea that conservative Christian women, and I got to be honest, take the religion out of it. Neighbors should be asking about their neighbors. Okay, let me put it this way. Remove the religion from it. If there is a guy who is acting poorly in the neighborhood, do you just ignore him? Let's say a guy is flinging dog crap into the street. Okay, you're going to be like, hey, you can't do this. Now, let's say he's doing something that's kind of annoying, but not really as bad. Like flinging dog crap in the street, you're going to be like, we got a health hazard. But let's say he's like leaving things in his front lawn. Yeah, you say, hey, I know it's your lawn. I don't mean to be disrespectful. But we were wondering if it would be okay if you put some of this stuff away, just leaving this stuff out here. Kids could trip on it and it cause problems. I think that's totally reasonable. He could then say, my property, bye-bye. Okay, well, if you don't want to be a participant in community, then you can get offended by things. It doesn't mean you go to someone's house and scream at it and be like, what is this mess? You insult them or anything like that. Now, as it pertains to Christianity, I'm not a Christian. So far be it for me to tell Christians how they're supposed to live. But as an outside perspective, I'd imagine Christian communities have a deep investment in the other families maintaining good traditional Christian values. And women absolutely could be saying things like, I think your husband is not behaving like a Christian. Now, let's jump into this. Pearl Davis elaborates in a somewhat different way. Why do so many conservative women think it is their place to tell their husband when he is and is not following God? Blows my mind. Conservative women are so out of order. Now, again, when it comes to divorce rates, when it comes to modern feminism, Pearl Davis nails it a ton of the time, right? She's correct. Like divorce courts favor women. There's a lot of problems. It disincentivizes marriage and causes problems for marriage. And then you've got young men they don't even understand how they get married with what's going on. I met a guy the other day who said he had been with a woman for 9 years. They decided to tie the knot. As soon as they did, everything changed. All of a sudden, she no longer cared about anything he cared about. She didn't want to have a family. She wanted to have a career. And they got divorced almost right away. And he was like, I have no idea what happened. Like, how did this happen? After 9 years, she just changed. I think Pearl Davis is correct about many of those things. However, what I find particularly interesting with Pearl is that she tends to take these attacks as though she is a conservative woman, but she certainly is not a conservative woman. In which case, for conservative women, I don't know who Pearl is actually talking to. I don't know that Lauren Chen identifies herself as conservative or what her position is. I think probably. But if you're a conservative woman, why would you take advice from a 26-year-old unmarried spinster, right? I'm saying that somewhat with, I would call that faux derision, right? I actually have no problem whatsoever with Pearl doing whatever she wants to do, and spinster is not a word I normally use. But my point is, if you're a conservative Christian woman seeking to have a family, and you look to Pearl Davis, that's how you would see her. And you'd say, her opinion's completely meaningless to me. So then who actually is Pearl Davis talking to? She's criticizing conservatives to non-conservatives. Who is that? I suppose men who are, I don't want to say just necessarily like the red pill men, like red pill dating, but it's a collection of men who are, it's typically male. They're going to be jaded with the current state of the system in courts and probably relatively anti-woke, anti-feminist, but not conservative. And there are many men who are former liberals, disaffected liberals, who are hearing this, and they're saying, I agree with Pearl. Pearl is not conservative. I mean, she can say she's a conservative. I don't think she does. She said on the show, on the Culture War, I'm not telling people to live like me. Well, yeah. Pearl's 26. She's running a business. I would say that Pearl is a feminist. And I'm not saying that as a gotcha or disrespect. Pearl is an adult human female in her prime years deciding to start a business and run a company and hire employees instead of starting a family. And that is certainly the antithesis of conservative women. That is the feminist archetype, isn't it? Girl boss. I do think it was funny that a lot of people were commenting on the show being like 4 girl bosses complaining about girl bosses. Come on. And sure, whatever. Not really. Now take a look at this thread. Pearl Davis asks, why do so many conservative women think it's their place to tell their husband when he is and is not following God? And again, I want to stress this. I'm not trying to say anything that's intentionally disrespectful to Pearl. I'm not trying to start a beef, but I do want to give my thoughts and opinions on her motivations. Frank Pellegrino says, my wife and I have conversations about helping each other live our best lives with and through God. I hope and pray that you will have that someday, finding a partner who has your back and wants to join you in heaven someday. Kind of a nice thing to say. Like, okay, well, Pearl says, your wife is a overweight 40-year-old who chose you after 15 plus years of doing God knows what. No one wants what you have. If you ever leave her good graces, her army of friends will treat you the same way they treat me. Wow. Frank says, how did you get so triggered when I literally said I would pray that you find a partner in life? Incredible, really. Maybe show a bit of humility for once and people won't keep making fun of you. Pearl says, not triggered at all, actually. You said, live how my wife and I live. No one wants what you have. He actually didn't. He said, here's what my wife and I do. I hope you find a partner who has your back and wants to join you. He didn't say that, you know, if Pearl hooked up with another red pill guy who shared similar, I shouldn't say another, but a red pill kind of guy who was critical of women and they got along, Frank didn't say that he wants them to pray together to live their lives through God. Pearl got real mad real fast. One guy responded, no one wants what you have either, Pearl. Pearl says, I do not preach what I have is how people should live. Don't use yourself as an example if I can't comment on it. I see this quite a bit. And Pearl was saying it on the Culture War show, saying, well, I don't tell you to live like me. I don't know that that's actually a defense. Other people are doing things that are wrong and bad, and I'm not giving an example of how they should live anyway. I'm just going to come out and say it. And again, I'm not saying this because I want to start a beef or say anything intentionally, emotionally triggering to Pearl. But I think it's plainly obvious, man. When you say, you know, you post a tweet that says, how can, you know, why do so many conservatives think they can conservative women think they can tell their husband? And a guy just says, well, we pray together. I hope you find someone who cares about you. And then the response is to insult the wife of the man. I'm sorry, there's only one thing I see. Insecurity and jealousy. This is not an academic argument. It's not a witty argument. It's not an argument at all. It is pain. It's not even a good dig. Your wife is an overweight 40-year-old who chose you after 15 plus years of doing God knows what. No one wants what you have. Well, that's clearly wrong. Many people beg and hope and pray for that. Pearl Davis saying no one wants what you have. Again, I'm trying to avoid what is coming off, what may come off as like emotional digs. But this reeks of Pearl wishing she had a marriage. And I got to be honest, like it's probably not even a great revelation. Everybody wants this love, you know? Everybody wants to find their life partner who has their back, so that when they're in their darkest, when they're most worried, they know that someone will be there for them. One of the scariest things ever is being in the hospital with no one to call. Just strangers all around you. Nobody wants that. You can be the strongest man in the world, able to lift up a bag of baby puppies and your wife and carry them out of a burning building with 2 babies strapped to, in carriers on your chest, and you put them all down, and then you flex your glistening, sweaty muscles and say, "I just saved the day." And you still beg that there's a woman there, and you fear the loneliness. One day you wake up in the hospital and there's no one there around you. Nobody likes it. That's why there are so many guys who don't like divorce, and that's what guys are scared about. So this idea that no one wants what you have, seriously? People who are aging, who are not married, are certainly thinking about, heavens help me, what am I going to do? And of course, there's liberal cope. I formed a polycule, and we're going to live together forever. Oh, please. Y'all are going to be sitting on your deathbed in the hospital room, wondering where it all went wrong, with no family. That's a terrifying prospect. If you ever leave the good graces, her good graces, her army of friends will treat you the same way they treat me. She's correct about that. Yeah, if you break up and have a divorce, then your friends are not going to be friends anymore. Not surprising. All right, well, here we go. Chrissy Mayer responds, because I believe that's the wife. I could roast you, but I'd rather say that even though you might not think so, you are worthy of love, pearly things. The fact that you got this triggered over someone praying you find a husband tells me you don't feel worthy of it, but you are. Everyone is. Let's all pray for Pearl tonight, that she finds the love of her life this year, a guy who will love all 7 feet of her chilly refrigerator body and melt her prickly disposition. To which Pearl responds, and you are worthy of taking this L, Miss Buzzer Beater Pregnancy. Pray for your kid when his classmates ask if you're his mom or his grandma at graduation, if you make it that long. Your show looks like a casting call for a woke all-female The Hobbit remake. Well, we certainly solved a lot of problems with those tweets now, didn't we? All right, well, I'm going to break down, it almost seems pointless to even be talking about this, to be completely honest. Women insulting each other on the internet is not really of most relevance to guys who are trying to, be men of action and solve worldly problems. But in fact, my friends, this is a large component of our worldly problems. How we run our households. Do we have kids? Like, all of those things are deeply important. Chrissy Mayer attacking Pearl, and I think it's fairly obvious she's attacking Pearl where she thinks the weaknesses are. Calling her a 7-foot-tall refrigerator body with a prickly disposition. I'm going to give you my honest assessment. Some people may think I'm being mean. I'm not trying to be mean. I want to say that again. The first thing I can say is I guess is that I'm assuming that Chrissy Mayer is married to Frank. I don't know for sure. I don't know anything really about their family history, but Pearl is very tall. She's 6 foot something, and tall women are insecure because women tend to want men who are taller than they are, and men tend to want women that are shorter than they are. It is very difficult for taller women. You see it a lot all over the internet. Tall women trying to find very tall men. Maybe it won't happen. And a lot of guys don't want to be with a tall woman. Women don't want to be with a short guy. So short guys feel this experiences as well. Refrigerator body. And people are posting this image of Pearl. I don't know if the image is here. I don't know if I should even show. There's a guy holding a refrigerator, but people are posting this image of Pearl, making her look, overweight and frumpy or whatever. My honest assessment, I think Pearl is insecure. I think that she's jealous of many women. I think that she's capable and she's intelligent. She's running a successful business and she's very wealthy and, all that true. But when you look at her responses, like this one right here, where the guy says, I pray that you find a wife. She says, no one wants what you have. I'm like, I got to be honest, man, that kind of reeks of jealousy. I could be wrong, sure. And again, I stress this for the 80th time. I'm not saying it's an emotional dig. I'm saying that's what I read. Dude just said, we pray together. I hope you find that someday. And she's like, your wife's overweight and no one wants what you have. Here's a video going viral, 20 million views. 20.2 million views of a woman begging for love, begging in near tears, saying like, why? When is it going to be my turn? Are you kidding? Everyone wants love. Everyone wants to find something, and they will take whatever they can get. That's why attractive, unskilled, and stupid people get married, because everybody wants to find that partnership. We are humans. We are social beings. We have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, technically billions. But for the existence of mammals, we have developed tribal social relationships as a survival mechanism. It's what we do. Everyone wants what they have. Everyone wants this. There are people right now who are single, desperately begging, not to mention, having success, a career, and starting a family, whether late or otherwise. No one wants what you have. That's not true. And I'll put it this way. When she says no one wants what you have. See, this is why I say that Pearl's acting out of what I would assume to be hurt. If you take Pearl's own logic, you can see that this does not quite make sense. Pearl entertains the idea that young men are upset over a divorce and all of these things, and thus they're not getting married. Women aren't virgins on their wedding night anymore, and she called out conservative women for this, all of these things. One of the principal ideas behind Pearl's work is that young men and men in general are upset over how the system is operating and that the laws need to be changed. Why would the laws need to be changed? If no one wants to get married at that point, certainly the laws would not need to be changed. No one wants what you have. Now, I suppose it's fair to say the argument is if the laws were changed, then everyone truly wants to be married young to their high school sweetheart, all that stuff. My point is, right now, talking to a guy who is, 40 or whatever and got married, and she's saying, your wife is an overweight 40-year-old who chose you for 15 years. No one wants what you have. Right now, the illogic to that is, if the system, as Pearl keeps saying, this is just the way it is. That's what she, when I asked her, like, what about this? That she goes, that's just the way it is. That's how it is going now. So like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you why or how. That's what's going on right now. It's like, okay, fine. Based on everything you've described, Pearl, is going on now, then what we have is people who are nearing 40 who are desperate, wanting what Frank has. Right. Based on you describing the situation as it is today, this is how you end up with these relationships because everybody wants them. I agree. The system is broken. I agree. People would probably be happier and better off if they got married younger to their high school sweethearts, all that stuff. And that's the problem. Going to this video of this woman here where she's like, when is it going to be my turn? I got bad news. She says, when I want to be with someone to build a life with. Ma'am, how old are you? You've built your life already. See, this is what people don't understand. You want that fairy tale romance that starts as like teenagers in high school. That's really it. And you walked away from it, and you didn't know any better. I think that the previous generations led us astray. You want to build your life with someone. Yeah, you have to be with them for a very long time. Go back 100 years, 200 years. You, as a man or woman, grew up in a community where all the kids knew each other. And then this is what's really fascinating. You're dating in high school. And then you're about to get married. And then it's like, wow, did you see that Jimmy married Sarah? Oh, you know who Jimmy and Sarah are. And they got married. And you're like, wow. These days, it's like, so who are you dating? It's this guy, Bob. He's from Arkansas. He moved up here. You never met him before. And wow, congratulations. How are you going to build a life with somebody who's already built their life? You can build part of your lives together, but that's the issue. These women are going to college. They're getting out at 22, 24, 26, depending on how long they go. Then they date and they party. They don't want to settle down. They want to travel. I'm not saying they're not allowed to. I'm saying for everyone who's done that, men or women, you've already built your life. Here's what's really wild. and the big problem that I think many of these women are going to face. You really want to start considering family and kids in your early 20s. That's when you want to start considering it. Not easy to do. In fact, in this economy, man, feels nigh impossible. You can't just go stake a claim on some land somewhere and then hunt a deer and try and find some meat and raise some cows. Not as easy as it used to be. So it's tough. People are trying to figure out ways to make money to sustain themselves before they enter into having a family and being destitute. I actually think it's an inverse correlation, however. The economy would adapt to people who are having kids and needed to make money. The more kids you had, the more services would emerge, the more opportunity there would be for family services. But as more and more people think, I'd rather have excess cash before having a family, then the more these family services break apart and the less society will be catered towards having family. So anyway, look, I don't want to prattle a million years on this one. Ultimately, like my thoughts on all of this are, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is seeing this fighting between Pearl and them on this issue of telling other people how to live. Ultimately, what it came down to was, I'll put it simply as I wrap this up. It is imperative that we all have social pressures on us and our neighbors in how they live. That we know who our neighbors are. And I mean, literally, your next door neighbors. And meet them and talk to them and share your values. We should not live in a world where everyone just minds their own business locked away, because then values become internet-based. That's a bad thing. But in the end, Pearl certainly gets a lot of things right in calling out conservative women, and I respect it. But I also think it's strange that she's not a conservative and she's not talking to conservatives because she's living a traditional feminist life. She's not telling anybody to live the way she's living. I agree, that's fine. But Pearl is like a second wave feminist. She's a girl boss. She started a company. She built a big following. It's the weirdest thing. This is my final thought on this. The weirdest thing to me is all of these women who are overrepresented in media saying live or don't live a certain way. Well, hold on. There's a reason why you don't hear from moms and trad wives on the internet, real ones, because they're not girl bosses on the internet. They're raising a family, working with their husbands and living traditional lives. It's fascinating to me that all of this commentary on how to be conservative and be a traditional wife is coming from people who are not. C'est la vie, I guess. It's a modern world. You can do whatever you want. I'm not telling anybody how to live. I'm just saying it's funny, right? Anyway, I kind of feel like it was a waste of time. Thanks for hanging out. And next segment will be up at 6 p.m. on this channel, and we'll see you all then.